Hey. I get this thing started because we're recording before anyone arrives. It's the NFT Filmmaker Squad. And today is What the Fuck is Up with Web3 Film Distribution. I jumped in a little bit early. And just waiting for the rest of the squad to get here and our guests to get here. It should be really cool conversation. So if you're listening to this recording, hey Kamani, if you're listening to this recording, then we're just getting started and super psyched. I'm going to bring Kamani up and waiting for people to come in. Hey Susie, hey Mohamed. Kamani, I just sent you a speaker. I don't know if you got that. Hey Soph. Hope we're not getting rugged today. Sophie, I just sent you a co-host thing. Great. You're in. Hey, Kamani. Great. Welcome, you guys. We're just getting started.
Hello.
Hey, Kamani. We're just getting started, waiting for our two other guests and some other people to pull up. And I just have gotten in the habit of talking to myself to get the... because we're recording, so when I'm started early by myself, and I want to make sure that nobody is like going, there's anything going on here? Anyway,
I love that. I kind of want to go back and listen to that beginning part, just you.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it happened because I think it was like last week or something. I was in here. I got in here like at 12:59 or something, and I was just not really paying attention. It was totally silent, and I realized it was recording. And if someone ever like wanted to go listen to the recording, they would be like, "Is anything actually happening here?" So anyway, welcome you guys. I see Toss is here. Toss, I did send you a speaker invite, but maybe you're waiting on the rest of BlockbusterDAO to get here. We are waiting for the other guests, but anyway, those of you who are new, this is the NFT Filmmaker Squad. We have been meeting every Wednesday since about a year now, and we've been, I'd say, trailblazing this NFT film scene. Since then, trying to figure it out, trying to create community, trying to support and amplify one another, and figure out where we fit here. We also, just so you know, we started Mondays with Miguel just a couple of weeks ago. So we added that. It's also at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and that's a lot of fun. Miguel's got a really cool project going, Calidito, where he's doing his feature film. He's crowdfunding his feature film in a really interesting way. And then we are launching a Saturday matinee with Jason Charnick on Saturdays. That's something that's been in the works for a while, and that starts this Saturday. So anyway, I just want to say hi, Tasa and Kamani. Let's see if we can give the Beem guys a little bit of a moment left. And Tasa, I don't know if you can, or if you guys have already done this. I see Kamani's already got his stuff up there. If we can get a BlockbusterDAO pinned tweet up there, is there? You want to do that?
Yeah, let me
Awesome,
scrounge for one real quick.
All right, I see our other guest is here. Fabulous. All right, cool. Welcome. So for those of you who don't know, Tasa is part of you wrote the Blockbuster DAO white paper, I'm pretty sure. I think you are the catalyst for BlockbusterDAO, and I'm going to let you introduce that in a little bit. And then Beem, XYZ, Beem Stream. Is it Cyprian? Are you there? Cyprian. Yep, there we go. There it is.
So early for that today. My God.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh wow, excellent. Yeah, the Twitter app is still a bit buggy. Like if you change profiles or whatever, it's anyways. Yeah, so I'm here. Hey, everyone. Good to be here.
It's great that you're here. We have this running joke that how often I will call on somebody and and uh, and it will just be like complete silence. And and it happens so often, it's become a running joke. Anyway, welcome you guys. I know we've got some competing film rooms, which is super unfortunate today, but I'm really excited that all you guys are in here. Cyprian, if you want to put, if you want to pin a tweet up there about Beam so people can know, do you know how to do that?
I have no
Okay.
idea, actually. Never did that
Okay,
before.
I'll get Sophie. Sophie, can you go to Beam XYZ, Beem XYZ, to their Twitter account? It's probably like your pinned tweet, right?
Yeah, it's a pin tweet that explains a bit everything about Beam.
Perfect.
I think this is
You got
the
that?
easiest.
You got that, Soph?
Yeah.
Yes, leave it
All
with
right.
me.
So anyway, guys, welcome. We'll bring you guys up on stage in a little bit, but first, I want to dig in with our guests. It's super cool. I've had the great fun to met with Cyprian over at Beam and had some really cool discussions about what they're doing, and then also with Tasa um, uh, over at BlockbusterDAO, which also is super cool. And the cool then as I was talking to them, I found out that they were doing some really cool stuff together as far as distribution goes. And so uh, I am super psyched that they're here. And also, I just want to say that one of the other really cool things is that when we started the NFT filmmaker squad about a year ago, some point in the spring, Kamani showed up. I don't remember exactly when, but he came in with this incredible idea that I really felt at the time a lot of us couldn't wrap our heads around. And now that, we fast forward a year later, and, not only is the idea making a lot of sense to people, but that, it seems that a lot of people have been implementing it and things like that. So, I'm super psyched to introduce these three guys, and first I want to get them chatting about distribution and things like that. But since I see a whole bunch of new people in here, I'm going to give a really quick reset to who we are, what we do, why we're here. The NFT Film Squad meets every Wednesday, has for a year. We've been chopping it up, figuring it out, amplifying, spotlighting, featuring filmmakers, and and trying to figure out big ideas for where the future of film is. We have a Discord. You can find that community in my link tree. It's growing. It's fun. We've got some good ideas coming down the block, and so I welcome you to join us in there. And also, we have expanded our conversations because this space moves far too quickly for us to only meet once a week. So we meet now Mondays with Miguel at the same time here on this platform. And then we are launching Saturday matinees with Jarnik this Saturday. So I'm super psyched about that. And that it's a beautiful thing the way this community is growing. So with that said, I would love for you guys to briefly introduce yourselves and a little bit of what you're about. We'll dig into all the elements more, but just like a brief idea of what's happening, how you got involved in this space, and what your kind of an overall idea of what you're doing. Tasa, do you want to jump in on that one?
Absolutely. I can't thank you enough for having me here, and I'm just really psyched to be a part of these conversations so regularly. I think when I got into this, I had no idea how vast and comprehensive the community is, and it's just really empowering to be able to talk with amazing people like yourself, Jordan, on these calls. So thank you. Um, as for BlockbusterDAO, my name is Tasafila. I started BlockbusterDAO about 2 months ago, just after Christmas. Posted a tweet, it went viral, and we kind of built a community and an idea around that together, based on kind of what our comprehensive vision for decentralized streaming looks like. And for us, it's really about distribution, and we really focus on trying to create a platform in which creators have the most autonomy and the most security as they not only retain their IP at distribution, but they're able to monetize the way they want. So we're currently in the white paper phase where we're putting together a document, and we are going to present that in a conversation to Dish, and from there we'll talk about getting Blockbuster brand as well as building this platform and forming a DAO to manage it all. It's pretty complex and very powerful idea that we're all following behind, and there's a lot of moving pieces, but it's been really incredible to combine Web3, film, and everything in between in this community, and we really have all of our bases covered, and it's been an incredible experience.
Oh my God, I am so hype on you guys. I really like love what you're doing. And just so you guys know, of course, they have a Discord as well. I invite you to follow all the speakers up here today and get to know their work. Join their Discords if you're a film lover. And Cyprian, let's talk about Beem.
Yeah. So super happy to be here and to talk with everyone here, because we've been working on that platform and in the NFT and Web3 environment for, I mean, it was called crypto before, environment for the last 4 years now. We did kind of a white paper, like a 50 pages white paper back in 2018 about the future of NFTs in distribution and monetization. And from there we started to actually build the platform, which is kind of the hardest part, because you want to have like a reliable infrastructure. You're dealing with film, so you want the highest quality possible, you want the less bugs possible, and so after a while, we've had quite a decent success with the beta version of the platform that started in like end of 2020, and we've now organized like more than 1,000 events on the platform. We've had like hundreds of creators coming in and uploading their work and sharing it and distributing it. And I think what Tasafia was saying is partially true. Right now, we are in a very interesting moment in the history of entertainment, and specifically of the video part, where creators can decide what type of distribution they want to be part of and what is the closest to what they feel is the best for them, but also for their community. And I think this is unprecedented, and this is so cool to be able to actually do it now. And the technology was not there even 2 years ago, but now we have arrived to the point where we are able to do that. The like Beem is a platform that already exists, and what we are building with Blockbuster is going to literally like change everything if everything goes right, and we hope for that, because it will be a way for creators, and by creators we're like very large in the sense that creators goes from a big movie mega production with huge budget to a YouTuber in his basement, and in that spectrum you have all the different kinds of creators there. And so I'm super happy to see that Miguel is here. For example, Miguel is a creator that he started doing movies, has been doing it for a while, but now with NFT financing, he's able to actually do something new and offer a new way to not only distribute his content, but also to finance it before. And I think what Web3 is offering now is a totally new way to think about how content is created, how content is financed, and how content is distributed. And by distribution, it's also the monetization aspect of it. But most importantly, I think, is the community engagement, where content is not static anymore, where you just put it somewhere and people go there to see it. It's going to be content that is interactive and that has a story, that has a lore behind it. And people who are going to get in love with content, they will want to be part of that lore, or that a continuing story that is developing with every new installment, or every new video, or every new episode, or any art that is created that is linked to the original or the artist at the beginning, but also of the IP that they developed. And so you have also like a huge market for IP solutions, in the sense that how, as a creator, you can manage your own IP, and then how you can distribute it and how you can sell it, for example. So imagine you have like a big back catalog of videos that you did before. How do you monetize them? So having a comprehensive solution to handle that for you, and but that is not, and this is a very big distinction, and then I will shut up. That is not like the wall garden and the rent seeking platforms that are in the Web2 world right now, where as a creator you just like leave your content there and hope for the best. There is like you are in charge of your own platform, you are in charge of your own content, you are in control of what you offer, and this is where you can have that true engagement with your community, because you are in charge of the way your content appears and the way people can interact with your content.
I love this so much. You know, when we spoke, I think we spoke back in December.
Yep.
I just, yeah, I remember me telling you, I have to get involved. I don't know how yet, but we gotta figure this out, especially with the squad. So I've been really looking forward to, once I knew that you and Blockbuster, that, you know, you guys were doing things together. And then I kept thinking about Kamani. I have been looking forward to this particular conversation, but, you know, before my drop, and then, you know, I was a little busy with that. But anyway, you guys, I'm so excited, Kamani, for you to talk a little bit about, you know, briefly right now, because your stuff is so super in depth as well. And it'd be great for you to give everyone a brief overview of what you brought here, you know, last spring.
Yeah, and thank you for having me in this wonderful space. I can tell that this is, I just going to pat our colleagues on the back here and say that this is a historical space. I'm very blessed to be a part of this and be a part of this wonderful Web3 filmmaking community. It's seriously a privilege, and I know it's said every film squad room, but if you're here, you're early. So, brief overview about me. It goes without saying, I was born in 1989 with something called prenatal cocaine exposure. So that actually is I have to bring that up because it's a huge staple in my life. So I came up in foster care, and I come from some pretty deep cuts concerning a disability that I have due to my birth conditions, et cetera, et cetera. But beyond all that, I was still able to work out a 15-year ongoing career in the film industry, mainly as a producer and assistant director. I have hung my hat on a couple of films here, but I won't show any of you. So early last year, February, there was a Beeple piece that sold for $69 million. And the firm that bought it is called Metapurse. They fractionalized their ownership to that piece, and they could further manipulate the asset. And so I took that use case that was presented by the Metapurse folks, and I expanded it into a practical, viable solution for intellectual property management in our filmmaking endeavors. So I think that's a nice, tidy little summary.
Oh my God, I love that. You've been working on that, Kamani. Have you been working on that like little log line?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I'm a wounded person.
I do. That's fabulous. I'm psyched. I'm gonna do a reset because I see a lot of new people in the room today, and actually some people I've actually never seen in the Web3 NFT space before. So I want to welcome you guys to the NFT Filmmaker Squad. We have been meeting every Wednesday for close to a year. And, you know, a year ago, we were just looking for each other. It's like, is there anyone out here kind of situation? And, and, and I had been running the Elevating Women in the NFT space room, and I found 4 other women who were like, yeah, I'm in the business. So I asked them to come start this weekly room with me. And that's how the NFT Filmmaker Squad was born. And then a lot of you who I see in the room started jumping in and you know, becoming part of the community very soon after. And since then, we basically spent our time trying to build the community together, to amplify each other, to support one another, because the ethos of Web3 is about community, and to figure out ways that we can help one another, you know, carve out this ecosystem. And so, cut to now, we have expanded to Mondays because this space runs far too quickly to do this once a week. We have Mondays with Miguel now from 1 to 3, and then we are starting, are launching, or premiering, I guess is the better word, Saturday matinees with Charnik this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm super psyched if you're new to the space, and if you want to join our community, we also have a Discord. You can find that in my link tree. And if you want to come up on stage, please make a request. I know, Ian, that you wanted to jump into this conversation. So if you're still here, I hope you can get up here, put some requests in, because we'd love to have you be a part of what I think is going to be a really cool deep dive. So Sophie, since you're up here, do you have any like questions for these guys? Because I've gotten a chance to talk to them all a bit.
Hey guys, yeah, thank you so much for introing. It's God, it's so amazing just to like hear the way that you're thinking about this space, and I mean, frankly, just to hear like vision that I feel like I'm just admiring and listening along to. So yeah, I mean, I guess like I have a bunch of questions. One that is like, I mean, maybe it's just coming from a place of kind of ignorance, or I just don't know as much as you guys, but I'd like to know kind of more of the details of like how that kind of how like the IP and distribution like works for filmmakers, just a little bit more detail on that. And then more like my bigger question that I was thinking for you, Cyprian, was you were talking about the white paper that you did in 2018, and I just wondered if there's anything that you like wrote in there that has come true, like if there's any like predictions, I guess, that you put in about what the NFT space was going to look like, just because it's so interesting to speak to people who've been in the space for a while. Yeah, and how things have kind of panned out.
Yeah, so you had two questions here. The first one is about the distribution and monetization and that filmmakers have right now. The reality is that what Web3 is going to open up is the flexibility and the choice for people. And I think this is why it's going to change so much, is that you're not restricted to, oh, this is, if you're a filmmaker, these are the steps you will need to follow, and you need to go to that festival, you need to apply, pay the fees, you need to go there, and you have that kind of to-do list that was written for the last 50 years or so. And now it's like, no, actually there are many ways to get to your audience. There are many ways to find your new fanship, and there's a new way to monetize your art. And I think that the beauty here of everything that we're building is to say, look, there's no one size fits all. This is not how it works anymore, because every creator is different, every art project is different, every movie, video, whatever piece of content is different, and so it needs to be handled differently. When you start saying like, yeah, I want to monetize my content, sure, but if you already have a community that has a coin or that has like an NFT, then your monetization is already kind of on the side track, because you're not monetizing your content. You're monetizing the actual ownership of a part of your IP, or a part of being in a specific community. And actually, Tata Fila wrote a nice paper like 2 weeks ago about CVOD, which is collectible VOD, in opposition to AVOD, ad-supported VOD, TVOD, so transactional VOD, EST, electronic sell-through. What am I missing? Yeah, SVOD, subscription. So all of these things already exist, and they will exist in Web3 with even better tools and like better UX, UI, etc. But by having those collectibles, you're actually offering another way for filmmakers to monetize what they do, and also to raise funding for the next project. And so you can, and this kind of the vision is to say, we should free the content. Content should be free and should be easily watchable for everyone, and should be accessible for anyone, notwithstanding your different subscriptions or like $20 you need to pay in Apple to watch a movie, And here the goal is to say, no, content should be free, but how is the creator going to get paid? So yes, you can offer like a classic monetization scheme, but you can also say, yeah, but if they have something very specific that they can offer to their biggest fans, these fans will pay for the streaming of other people. And this is how the content gets known. This is how the artist gets known. And by having that army of supporters or deep involved member of the community that are ready to take a part in the ownership of that project and pay a big fee. It's not like $10 that I'm paying. I'm buying a specific collectible, for example. That can run like thousands
That depends,
of dollars.
man. That depends. You're gonna make it $10.
Yeah,
That depends on on your approach, but hey, yeah.
Definitely. No, it's a great point that you're making. You can actually make it $10 and you'll sell thousands of it. And boom, you basically have financed more than just put your movie somewhere and hope for the best to get some cash from ads, And so here, I think what is happening now is we have that huge horizon of all the different ways to finance, monetize, distribute the content, and this will be the choice of the creators. Literally, they will be in charge with their communities. Obviously, they want to have that kind of governance and shared ownership. The second part of your question was about the white paper we wrote back then. I think what's very funny is that we expected to be what we pitched in that roadmap or that white paper. We expected it to take about 10 years to happen, and actually 4 years later we are deep into it, and like everybody's talking about that, and everybody's like, yeah, NFTs, let's do it. I mean, when we wrote that, I literally had to explain what is ERC 721, what's the standard, how does it work, because nobody knew what I was talking about, because digital assets were not a thing. And now it's like you have all these big brands that are coming on and being like, yeah, NFTs, of course, we've been doing that for a while. Sure, like you just wrote about that in Forbes or whatever. And so what's very fun right now to see is that the industry has moved so fast that what we pitched as like a long-term future is now actually reality. And with what we are building with Blockbuster and with Beem, it's something that is happening like now in the next few months. And it's just really, really fun to see that, and I'm here for it, and I'm super happy to be here.
Thank you
love
so
that.
much.
Yeah, you know,
That's
Sophie, I wanted to see if Kamani had anything else you wanted to say with that.
Yeah, I'll be real quick about it because Cyprian, am I saying that right? I think he summed it up really beautifully. So I get really excited about over intellectual property because that is one of the best resources that any creator has. It doesn't cost you anything. It's the greenest it's the greenest product you can come up with. So anytime I'm talking about film and television, but this is true for any sort of scalable endeavor. When you have an idea, a concept for an intellectual property, you're able to use my structure for tokenomics. But beyond that, in the film industry, when you created an idea for a film, you've actually created at least 2 intellectual property assets. And here's what I mean by that. So let's say Sophie makes a film about Jordan living in a tent on the moon. Well, not only has she created an individual 2-hour film, where Jordan pitched a tent on the moon and is living in a tent, Sophie's also created a much wider story world in which people move to the moon and camp. so that's the paradigm that all creators need to adopt to effectively maximize our presence in Web3. Because when you go create that film, you want to retain ownership over the franchise that you created accidentally, or if you intended to create the franchise, you want to retain your full ownership, 100% ownership, as Cyprian was talking about, over your root intellectual property franchise. The film that's being distributed, that 2-hour piece, that's a separate asset. That's an asset that's contained within your intellectual property franchise. And all the characters that exist in that film and all the down the line pieces of the intellectual property, everything that is contained within the franchise. The specific film, this is actually really well defined in my paper, but it's the specific film is what I call the distributed asset. It's a well-defined asset. It's a team of people coming together to make a film over 6-9 months, whatever it is. That film is created as one asset. You have a hard number on the amount of people that have come together to make that asset happen, and therefore you know exactly who to share ownership over that asset with. But yeah, so that I just wanted to build on that. Anytime you create an intellectual property concept, you've actually created a much wider franchise concept. I call it the story world. Some people call it the intellectual property franchise. So while we're navigating Web3, just make sure that every time you make a film, you've created a wider world in which that film takes place or that show takes place, and you want to maximize your asset control. So traditionally speaking, when we're interfacing with Web2 and like Cyprian said, going back 50 years, I'll take 1 minute to walk you guys through what my experience with the traditional pitch process. So if you're able to get in a pitch room, and and that already requires some layers of clout that I haven't had yet. But if you're able to get into a pitch room, and a bigger production house wants to take on your property, let's say Hulu or Netflix or somebody like that, they'll sign you to if they like your show or your film idea, they'll sign you to what's called a first look deal. So that means that they'll take on that property, they'll produce that property with you, conditions and terms apply, of course. And not only that, but they've signed you to a 2 or 3 year first look deal. So everything that you create in the next 2 or 3 years, they have first rights to. And when we're talking first rights, we're talking 100% rights, right? So they're going to own your film, they're going to own your intellectual property franchise. Everything that you create under that label, under that banner, will be owned by the distributor that you're working with or the production partner that you're working with. We have a chance to completely rearrange that relationship. And I'm so happy to be working with Tasafila and Cyprian and granting and Ian and granting wishes to Jordan and Sophie and Corinne and poor Marty and Miguel and El and I'm not gonna go through that. And Jason, Julian, Petra, I see you. Yeah, a bunch of people in the room. We have the chance to set the standards for how we're navigating intellectual property assets in Web3, and that's so important. It's vitally important to do this the right way. So I'm so thankful to be in this space, in this discussion, talking with like-minded individuals and building. So thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you so much, Kamani. I knew you'd have some really cool things to say. I see, Cyprian, did you on mic? You might necessarily, I mean, you might have something to say.
Yeah, very quickly. I think then I will let Tasafila speak a bit. What you just said makes total sense, and this is what we've been pursuing for a while. The issue right now is the interoperability of content. Really, it's like how are you able to create a content that then anyone can have access to, but you're also able to distribute in a very traditional way. And this is very tricky because you are dealing with different layers. One is a legal layer, another one is like the purely operational layer of getting the material over the platform where it needs to stream. One is a technical layer when you need to have the movie transcoded in a great way. Another one is, yeah, I mean, you really have like all these different layers that you need to kind of control or at least understand to be able to do that by yourself. And here, by creating the building blocks that help you get that and do it from your own computer and just basically managing your own stuff, this is going to change. And the relationship of power you were talking about is exactly what is going to be modified by that. Those dynamics are going to be way different when you're able to say like, hey, you want to have access to my movie as a distributor or as a channel that wants to broadcast it or as a streaming platform that wants to have it, sure, go through that smart contract and basically have a public interface where people can get access to your IP within the boundaries that you created and that you set it up as parameters from the start. And so this is like the long-term perspective of what you're building, because this is where you will be able to have that tracking of intellectual property done in a way that is totally compliant with the ownership of the creator, and not only of the creator, but also of the community that goes with it. And why? It's because, and you just mentioned it, what's important to understand now is more and more, we are not going to see like lone creators, like just alone and doing their own stuff. We're going to see collaboratives. We're going to see kind of syndicates, DAOs now, groups of producers, groups of artists or of creators that are going to create together. And so you need to have all the tools so that it's crystal clear and super transparent for everyone who gets paid, how much, what is percentage. So you need to have everything within the smart contract where you have that relationship encoded between all the creators. And you can say like, yeah, any revenue that comes in that smart contract gets automatically divided, like split between all those different wallets. Because this guy was the original creator, so he gets, I don't know, like 50%. This girl helped with the script, so she gets, I don't know, like 30%, and etc. Like doing all that type of revenue split and doing it in a way that is transparent for everyone and that is fair. And so that the platform that you end up using to stream or to distribute gets a share, but it's a share that is, again, transparent. So you exactly know as a creator how much you're going to get, how much of all your collaborators are going to get, and how much are you paying to get your content in front of of your audience. And also by integrating technologies like multisig, so for example Gnosis and those kind of stuff, you're able to create that layer of tooling that is necessary now for DAOs that want to produce content, because this way you can have a multisig that owns an IP, that owns an NFT representing an IP. And just to finish, and I know I've been talking a lot, just to finish, there are like some really cool stuff happening in the ERC 721 and ERC 1155 standards, where you are able to link tokens together in the kind of a parent-child situation. And by being able to do that, you're able to say like, hey, this is the script. This is the first shot. This is the first rush. This is like the first two I don't know, like actors that we booked, and this is all these are part of the lore or are part of the overall IP or the overall world building. I don't know what terms you use, but yeah, the overall world that is behind every piece of content, and that is contained into one single kind of master OG NFT, which is where your IP resides. And we are building that infrastructure now. It's obviously like a big undertaking, but we do believe that this is the way content will be distributed at a larger scale, and IP will be respected.
Oh my God, this is amazing. I want to call Ian. I got to call on Tasa first, and then you, and I'll come to you. And then if anybody wants to come up on stage, please make a request because it's such a great conversation. Tasa, then Ian.
Hey, sorry, Ian. I know you've had your hand up. I'll be quick. I just wanted to kind of make like a little addendum to what Cyprian said. Is in terms of like collaboration, right, and creating interoperability between creators. A huge use case we see every day in the PFP market is derivatives and derivatives of Bored Apes and derivatives of the derivatives, and people are making and monetizing off of IP all the time, and it works for a lot of people. And in the end, like that parent IP isn't making any money and isn't able to really contract out those derivatives or even generate revenue. But when we look at content, we are like say you have an animated series, you're going to see a lot of fans create derivative content, whether it's concept art or fan art or fan screenplays or whatever. People like collaborating with that parent IP, and so by creating a platform in which everybody is interconnected, there are ways that we can connect artists to their derivative artists in a way that both might profit. Where you say have your series, you publish it on Blockbuster, and you have other people reaching out to try and collaborate doing their own derivative projects, and you can have that in your profile. Like you can have that connected to your account and be able to include your community to profit from your IP as well and license that out to people and be able to revoke that license if something is non-brand or be able to control your IP. So I think it's really important. That's just one use case, but being able to control your IP in a very executable way, in a way that you truly do have autonomy over your IP, is super important. And I see, what we're doing at Beem, or what they're doing at Beem, and what we're doing at Blockbuster being huge powerhouses for enabling creators to be able to control that.
Oh yeah, Ian. I know you got a lot of value to bring to this. You there?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this conversation is right in line with something that I've been mapping and talking about for the past year of, in Web3, what do rights and royalties and how do they, fit in? And Cyprian, I think you laid it out extremely well, right? There needs to be a way where you could actually track and have and handle those rights. And so what I'm doing is the ground layer block of that, where it's creating a metaverse cinema where royalties are split, and creators can take percentage of ticket sales. So it gives an avenue of distribution that is similar to more traditional theoretic distribution, and can create that community effect where folks can have a opening premiere, and everyone can show up in the metaverse, have a Q&A talk back, but also be able to watch and screen the film and sell tickets that then you could have as Sagers, film merch, wearables that you could then bake into your utility, and further allow autonomy and a revenue stream for the creators, but creating that smart contract that then says, profits are then split into pools automatically, which then combat the, Hollywood accounting that, has plagued many of us for so long. So, I definitely resonate, with what what you're building, with, what you said. And I think there's opportunity for even us to kind of maybe even work together and kind of create that standard where platform to platform interoperability, whereas if it were released, then that, distribution or right is then carried over to a streaming platform, or, carried over to Blockbuster, DAO streaming platform, where the royalties are then tied in, ticket sales, resales, royalties, flips on those are then carried on through, through to the owner, as well as incorporating some of that LMO structure into, the royalty recoupment. So I think we're right on the cusp of something really innovative. And I think, a lot of times we don't get to highlight the tech as much, but the tech is what really makes this possible. And if we lean more into the tech solutions, which are the smart contracts, which are the royalty recoupment strategies, the interoperability platform, the platform where rights and royalties can then be managed by certain NFTs, like Kimani has layered out, right? And those NFTs can then carry and go platform to platform, where the royalties are then tied to that. Can really change how creators use and have autonomy over over their work. So um, I would propose maybe we all kind of get in. I think between Beem, Blockbuster, my past research and innovative kind of ideology, I think we have the potential to really create something that kind of creates the building blocks for other platforms to come.
I love it.
Cool. Thank you, Kamani. Hold on one second. I saw your hand was up, but Flinch's hand was up first. And what I do need to do, and thank you, Ian, is do a little reset on the room because we've got a lot of new people in here. And I just want to welcome you guys. I see a lot of new faces, new avatars, new PFPs. Welcome to the NFT Film Squad. Super psyched that you're here hanging out with us on this beautiful, very cold Wednesday. And we are here, and we've been here every week for the past year, chopping it up, figuring it out, and creating community so that we can build out a place for filmmakers here in this space. I'm big on communities, so one of the things I would love to encourage you guys to do is not only follow the people on stage that are speaking, because this is an incredible conversation and they are really innovating. You have Kamani, who's brought his white paper to the table last spring, and Cyprian, who's part of Beem, BEEM XYZ, and Tasa, who's part of the Blockbuster DAO. And they're doing some very, very cool things that a year ago we were hoping that we would be able to find people doing things like this. So this is a super cool conversation. If you want to join the NFT Filmmaker Squad community, we have a Discord, and you can find that in my link tree. And also, because this space moves so quickly, we do now run spaces not only on our Wednesdays. We have Mondays with Miguel, and we also have we're launching this Saturday with the Saturday matinee with Jason Charnick. So excited you guys have come through. Also take a look around at people in this entire space with us. A lot of great filmmakers I see in here. Look to your left, look to your right, follow each other, because Web3 is really about community, and this is how we have found each other, and how we've been able to spotlight people like Miguel, who and people like Julie, who was just here, that are right now innovating with the way they're crowdfunding their feature films, and because of them, I'm getting ready to roll out mine as well. And so there's a lot of really cool things going on, and it's not just the people up here, but it's the people that come in here and talk with us every week. So I think Kamani got rubbed. We'll try to bring him back up. And Flinch, how you doing? Welcome.
I'm fantastic, Jordan. How are you?
I love this. I live for this.
Honestly, this is an incredible group of people that have gathered in here, and I'm always amazed by you and the community building that you're doing. And I've learned so much from you coming into this film space and listening to your spaces. And I mean, there's just so many awesome people in here that I've gotten to know or I'm getting to know. Tasa, BlockbusterDAO, Miguel, Cyprian, I saw in here from Beem. Kimani's back. I know what he's building is really cool. Jason, I'm just looking through here. Julian, Tess, what a group. Sorry, I'm just excited by this, but
I'm excited for you. It's good stuff.
To what Tasa was saying a minute ago, it just had me thinking, because derivatives, spin-offs, fan art is such a thing. You think about Disney back in the day, right? Disney was recycling old European fairy tales and redoing them. And that was like sampling. That was the earliest form of sampling. And then, we started I think like rap music was probably like that next big moment where they were sampling old tracks. And then the 90s came around with people like Tarantino kind of like literally sampling old movie scenes and redoing them. And then YouTube hit and people started cutting other movies and media together and then monetizing those videos. And like, it's just become like this hyper sampling world that we live in artistically, where we're all borrowing from each other. And that's probably a byproduct of just, technology and information traveling so quick. But we haven't had a way for artists to like really profit from their work if it is sampled and used in the sample. And it's so necessary because that's just such a part of our culture at this point. And so to what, Tasa was saying about now with blockchain potentially being able to really like share the value creation that happens from one fan or one artist taking someone's work and then mixing it with someone else's work and then rebuilding something new. And then like when you think about what that means for NFT communities who might all own something, whether it's an IP or a specific project, and this notion, this belief that we're creating value for ourselves and for projects at the same time, and then like collaborating with other projects and then like just using your NFT with someone else's NFT and like the way that value can just be shared. I mean, it's just a wild concept to me and it excites me because I think it's really what creators and also fans and consumers needed, because I think one, obviously for creators, it's going to give them an opportunity to really share in the value creation, which I think a lot of creators have been left out of over the last 10 to 20 years. And then also for fans, like it's a new level of investment that we haven't seen in a while. Like we're so overloaded with content. Like, how do you get invested nowadays? How do you break through white noise? I think this is going to be the way. So I'm just like giddy about that concept.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for bringing that to the table as well. I know Kamani, before he got rugged, had his hand up, and then I've actually never pronounced your name. Is it Ocho? Ocho?
It's Zach. Yeah, it's an Ethereum pun.
It feels very northern Spain to me. Ocho. Okay, let me get to Kamani, and then I'll come to you.
Zach can talk first. I just wanted to talk about maybe when it does come back around to me, what sort of distribution models people have in mind. So,
all right.
But Zach can go first.
For sure, appreciate it, Kamani. But yeah, like piggybacking off of what Flinch and Sasafia was saying, like CCO, like public domain stuff, is like a pretty big hot topic right now, and you see a lot of cypherpunks talking about like, oh, like CCO is going to be the king. Like if you want to, tap into the network effects that NFTs allow communities to take advantage of, you got to have, free use public domain content in your Genesis media. But when you think about like the stuff that we do here in this room, like films, for a film to be CCO, especially if you're talking about like, very defined, finely tuned story worlds, that's it would be an interesting experiment. I don't think I would personally do it. I would be curious to see if anyone is looking into exploring CCO as like a film distribution licensing mechanism, but I really don't think it's the way to go. But you still want to, somehow leverage the ability for anyone who wants to make a derivative of the content in your film to be able to do that for the reasons that we've been talking about here. So I think one of the gaps that is happening with like the licensing and derivative conversation right now is like, the fact that if you own a Bored Ape, you can use your ape commercially, but you can't use the Bored Ape Yacht Club brand, right? That seems almost counterintuitive to me, and it creates a lot of, kind of legal gray area. So a solution that I think is worth exploring is finding ways to distribute like free use, essentially CCO licenses to NFT communities, but you have to be a holder of a certain token in order to acquire that license. So the end game for that is, if you own an NFT in this sort of, in this IP, then you are able to acquire a license very easily that will allow you to not only use your own NFT, but also use the entire brand surrounding it. So like, let's say you want to make a sequel completely independently, without, completely permissionlessly based on a certain character in a film. You should be able to do that very easily if you're, willing and able and involved in these certain communities. So I think that's a way for films in particular to explore like the network effects that are available to NFT communities. But I'm curious, others' thoughts on that. yeah, thanks for having me out.
Sure, that's awesome. Tassa, your hand was up, and then Kamani's. Yeah.
So a couple quick thoughts on that. Something that I've been thinking about is we've been looking at this DAO governance structure called Orca Protocol, which is a really cool Sybil resistant ERC 1155 system. But in that is that you can create a DAO, and then you can create guilds or sub DAOs, or what they call pods within that DAO, and you can create sub DAOs or pods within those pods, right? And you can kind of create this organic structure that flows, and they can have mergers, they can expand, and they all kind of have their own autonomy. And in a really awesome way, the DAO structure is great for these creative projects, or for, say, a single IP, creating a DAO around a specific animated series that you make, and then being able to allow derivatives creators or fans to create their own pods within your DAO, so that they are attached, and they're the tokens and the contracts are all connected, but also so that they have access to a treasury, and you can fund derivatives projects that from the main DAO to enhance their funding. You could say, hey, this derivatives project of ours is really good. Let's give them money from the treasury to finance the project. And in that case, it's really great as a creator, is you're more inclined to try and do it the right way through their DAO, because you can get funding, right? And you can get you might pay X% for the IP, for using the IP, but it's more legitimate, and you can scale it much farther than you can if it's kind of just this guerrilla derivative. So I think there's some really cool ways within DAO structures to try and incorporate these derivatives projects, so that a huge treasury like that of Bored Apes or something, they will have the funding to be able to scale out these derivatives projects, which ultimately scale the IP and the value of the IP.
Yeah, and another that's exactly what I'm kind of thinking as well. And I think the way that we're going to be integrating it with our project is you can freely acquire a license, but any revenue that you collect from derivative work used with that license, you're going to pay a very small royalty towards that DAO treasury. So it's sort of like a self-sustaining economic ecosystem. And also what that allows you to do, like you said, if you're an owner in this ecosystem, you've got a financial stake in the success of every single derivative project in that, if the infrastructure is properly set up, and that's kind of what we're talking about doing. So as a creator, being aligned and aligning yourself and your creations with this existing decentralized IP, a film student out of college can easily acquire these licenses and be a part of the DAO ecosystem, and they immediately have this sort of springboard to prove themselves in a very meaningful way that will kind of bypass these Hollywood kind of legacy infrastructure that really relies on really who just as much as the quality of your work. So yeah, the models here are insanely powerful.
I just love this, because I gotta say, the few of us were, and it's still in play, but back in July, we were really building out this DAO, and there were so many there were so many questions, there were so many options, there were so many things that were confusing, that we could already see weren't working with certain DAOs, and it was like, okay, well, that doesn't work as a for a DAO. So what is the solution here? And I get really, really excited hearing you guys solving these, and finding what both of you are speaking of excites me a lot. It's like, okay, a DAO within a DAO. That's super cool. I know that Elle's not here, but she used to say things like that to in conversations with me, and so I love this, because as I often say, I need more big brains around me. I'm not the big brain person. I'm just a lot of heart and passion, and I can see things, but sometimes I need a big brain like you guys to figure it out. I'm so happy that there's some big brains in here. Come on.
Yeah, so everybody who's in this room, your brain is bigger than mine. I just want to be clear. I'm excited because we're here discussing kind of, I think we have a chance in this room to maybe propose a standard baseline model for distribution. And I'm curious to hear Tassa's thoughts and Cyprian's thoughts and Ian's thoughts. I love fractionalization. I think distribution rights, I think it serves distribution rights really well to fractionalize distribution rights, because after all, content needs an audience, like everybody's been saying. There are going to be plenty of avenues to distribute content for free. I would also like distributors, mainstream distributors, to still be able to interface with content that they want on their platform. So the model that I proposed is very simple, and I'll reflect back, because I know this is very deep stuff for a lot of people. So let's reflect back to the creator paradigm. When you, as an intellectual property creator, create a film or television idea, or any idea for any scalable concept, but right now we're talking film and TV, you've actually created at least two assets. You've created the specific asset that you're distributing, and you've created the wider intellectual property franchise in which that asset exists. So when we're talking about the asset that you're distributing, you can actually form different assets around that specific distributed asset, including the distribution rights. And this is what Web3 allows us to do as creators. Every asset that we can create that has a value, we can now codify for ourselves. We don't have to go to a second or third party to get that layer of approval, that layer of legitimacy, to say, you know what, I have a TV show. This is what it's worth. This is the budget that we need. So here's our funding mechanic. And if you want to distribute this TV show, here's our distribution mechanic. So I think this room is a really exciting opportunity to talk about, because right now in Web3 in the Web3 filmmaking community, we've got a lot of different folks going at these things in a lot of different ways, right? And that's okay. That's the whole point. It's decentralized. Our model that we've done over at Let Me Out Productions is completely open source. So if you're interested in fractionalizing your ownership to the things that you're actually distributing, that model is a great model. So when it comes to distribution rights, how are we managing distribution rights? Because ownership does not come with distribution. It's a separate asset. So that's something I get really excited about, because we're able to negotiate ownership with the audience and then distribution with the existing distribution infrastructure. But at the same time, we have a chance here to both introduce more competition in that traditional infrastructure while still maintaining and allowing the dinosaurs to interact with our content. I don't know about you, but I'd be perfectly happy if my show Press Pass got picked up by Hulu or Netflix or whatever. So before I'll hop off the mic in a second. My distribution model suggestion is very simple. The rights to distribute your content are another asset that exists within your story world. So you can, my suggestion, and I'm curious on everybody's thoughts. My suggestion is to mint a pool of 100 distribution rights tokens to manage the distribution rights. Now, my suggestion out of that pool is only to release 16 tokens. The tokens can carry a distribution agreement that you spell out in full. The advertising splits, the merchandising splits, product placement, guaranteed content availability, everything. So if a distributor picks up that token, they know what they're agreeing with, and you set the terms of the agreement. It's a beautiful system. In this situation, if you have a pool of 100 on the market, or at least in the minted, and 16 on the market, a small distributor like Tubi can come pick up one token and distribute your content for free. A larger distributor like Netflix or Hulu, if they want exclusive access, exclusive rights to stream your content, they have to pick up all 16 tokens on the market. Now, the cost of that starts looking more and more like a traditional deal, except for you don't have any intellectual property ownership in that discussion. You're not giving up any ownership over anything, any creative control, any governance. It's just the rights to distribute. It's just the rights to form relationships with advertisers around your content. And this is super important to have. This is a super important paradigm to have, because if we were just discussing in our Twitter group a few weeks ago how Samsung is creating TVs that are automatically going to interface with NFTs, and they can stream NFT films, anything on the chain, directly through the interface. So by having a well-defined distribution agreement, the minute that Samsung runs a banner ad or a layover ad over your content, you have enforceability as to what the expectations are. And if they don't have a distribution rights token and are distributing your content, ooh, your legal counsel are gonna have some fun with that. So that's the model that I'm proposing. I'm curious to hear everybody else's thoughts, but just to recap, for every film or TV show, and this is season by season, you mint a pool of 100 distribution rights tokens. Now, this is fun. Make them artistically unique. Make them whatever you want. The distributors are buying them. But interestingly enough, this allows content. We just had a story a couple weeks ago where a streamer called Pokimane was streaming Avatar: The Last Airbender on her Twitch channel, and she got in a lot of trouble. DMCA requests, the Twitch stream got taken down, all these things. This model allows a Twitch streamer to pick up a distribution rights token, stream to their audience. You already have all the splits worked out, so you're getting a take on the advertising, all of that. So they can stream to their audience your show, right? They can stream it in syndication. You know, that's great, because if you get somebody like Pokimane with 600,000 viewers built in, ooh, and they're sitting there watching that person play video games with their feet. So they're going to sit there, watch that person watch your show for 30 minutes or whatever it is. It's a brand new model. So a well-to-do streamer can pick up rights to your sitcom. It doesn't have to be, or your movie. It doesn't have to be, you're not limited to the dinosaurs. And you're setting the cost, you're setting the price of these distribution agreements. So
I want to jump in, Kamani, because I think that this is, I'm got to be honest, I'm absolutely loving that you're having this stage right now, because you've been trying to tell people this model practically daily for almost a year now, and I just feel like you've got the right audience right now, and I'm super happy. Before I see the two hands that are up, Dreamer and Petra, I'll get to you. I just want to see if Cipriano, Tassa, or Ian, because Kamani called them out. Tassa, I see you might have something to say in connection with what Kamani's talking about. And oh, Ed, I'm trying to get you on stage. I don't know what's happening. Twitter's fucking with me.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, Kamani. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. I do have to say I have kind of a hard out coming up, so I'll leave this as my kind of last thoughts here in the space. And thank you, Jordan, for having me. I think that's 100% on board with the overarching theme that we're seeing in Web3 right now is interoperability, right? And being able to have those tokens that live like true contracts. That are accessible to anyone, beyond price point, obviously, would be the only exception, is a great way to be able to control that and see that and be able to see that in a wallet, and having a streaming platform where those tokens are visible, it can avoid a DMCA request or anything. And even if you did have content and there was content that was streaming, you could tell if maybe that content was not licensed or not. I think it's great. I mean, I think that's an awesome way to do it. And I think for Blockbuster, we want to be able to enable all forms of distribution like this, right? I want to be able to make it so it's so completely dynamic that, we can allow different forms to take place and to experiment and see what works. And maybe for some artists, having these licensed content is not necessary, or maybe you only want one or 100, or maybe you want free use for live stream specifically. I think that's the beauty of distribution, and being able to kind of integrate, like you said, integrate those old heads in. I think they'll appreciate that kind of structure. I think one of the things I do really think is important with distribution to keep track of is specifically censorship, and specifically streaming. I think is an important topic, especially when we talk about Twitch, where there are lots of people who are getting banned, censored, taken off of their streams, and regardless of whatever it was they did or their viewpoints, it comes from a point of centralization. And a lot of times there's a ton of outcry over it, or there's a ton of conflict or just bad PR for the company and for the artist and for everyone involved. Obviously there's some use cases where it's very warranted that these people deserve bans, but I think the beauty of forming a DAO and creating a DAO structure for censorship and moderation of content, I think is a really important topic when we talk about the future of streaming and distribution, and being able to have a DAO made up of people who are building the platform, who are watching on the platform, creators themselves, being able to vote and make decisions in terms of censorship and moderation are vastly important for the stability of allowing stories to flourish, right? And not having that censorship of, we're trying to appease a huge market in China, and we won't allow this on our streaming platform because we want to market it to the China base, and we have to approve CCP guidelines, right? That's stuff that happens all the time in the industry that essentially mixes concepts before they're even made, right? Or at the preliminary stages, they say, well, this won't appeal, or we can't do this because so and so won't like it, or this needs another whatever. Like there's a lot of different guidelines that get put in place that are completely unwarranted. And by moving that censorship moderation aspect to manage it, I think that's another important aspect of decentralization for the streaming universe. And I'm really excited to be able to build that into our DAO, into our streaming platform, and allow that kind of control from the community, and allow community input on what's truly acceptable, what's not acceptable. And I think, there's been a lot of drama on Twitter lately, right? And it's been pretty, disgusting to see some of the things that are said by people. And I think allowing that kind of control for the community is important, right? And it might be like, well, of course everyone's going to vote this person off the platform, right? Like, duh. But I think that level of saying, hey, I chose, and I think there's a bit of closure that I wasn't hearing, right? And somebody said, specifically in the I'm blanking on her name, but she had that big Twitter space the other day, and people were really just like they're grieving over these like words, and it just felt like there was no closure for anyone, and nor would there be. But I think in a world where we can decentralize censorship, there's at least some aspect for those people who are victims of these this type of language and this type of social media and content. They can have closure by being able to say, no, like, and it might not be full closure, but at least it's something where they can say, I voted, and I was able to, my words were heard, right? And I think for a lot of people, that's really important. And it's something I'm really excited about going forward, to be able to offer that to people, and just to be able to actually put their foot down as a cohesive whole, and not just as a centralized entity trying to, protect its neck.
Oh man, Tasa, thank you, also for just bringing up that social issue, part of what it, of the power of decentralization, right? And, yes, it's been a bit of an ugly moment for Web3, and something that we have not seen a lot of, but of course we know lurks there. And, we got to do our best to root all of that out. Thank you so much for coming through. Listen, I'm going to do a quick reset. I know Ian probably wants to speak to what Kamani said, and then I see that Dream, and then Petra, you had your name up, and then Ed, I see you. So, but Tasa, thank you so much for coming in here with BlockbusterDAO, and being a part of this. I really think this is one of the best conversations, and we've had some really fucking amazing conversations in this room for the past year. But I think we've been gunning for this in a lot of ways, and so it's really great. Listen, if you've just arrived into this space, if you're new, we're the NFT Filmmaker Squad. We've been holding spaces every Wednesday for the last year, and really trying to get to these moments. When we first got here a year ago, we were just looking for other filmmakers and like-minded people. So it's been really exciting to be on this journey. It's been really exciting to be a part of a community that's trailblazing. If you want to be a part of that community, you'll find us on Discord in my link tree, and we'd love to get to know who you are, what you're working on, and all of that. Also, besides following the people up here, look around in this entire room, in this space. Some awesome filmmakers that are doing some really awesome things, and get to know one another, follow each other, retweet. There are lots of micro ways that you can really support community. And thank you so much for coming in here and spending time with us. Because it moves so fast, we now have Mondays with Miguel, and we're premiering the Saturday matinee this weekend with Charnik. So we got a lot of things planned for the NFT Filmmaker Squad, and it's all about community. Just it's really about building a Web3, helping build filmmakers, place for filmmakers in the Web3 ethos. So with that, Ian, you had your hand up, and I know you probably wanted to speak to what Kamani said, and then we'll go to who's been patiently waiting, Dream.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I mean, Kimani and I have talked about this, as well as, I even spoke to Petra about this. It's about creating this universal standard, right? And that he mentioned, between, and I mentioned this earlier with Cyprin, Blockbuster, me, him, right? Creating the standard where this token that gives grants rights to distribution, because when you think about distribution in the traditional way, distribution it's not one size fits all. There's international, there's domestic, there's streaming, there's audio visual, which can be podcasting, right? So there's different distribution rights that tend to come with a project or IP. And I think when we can create this interoperability of platforms where it can have theoretical distribution through granting wishes cinemas, and then streaming platform distribution where the token is then transferred or sold right on a secondary market, that gives the rights that then tie the royalties and splits right to the creators, to the cast, to the producers, and that can be carried through platform to platform as the content can then live through this Web3 cycle and whatever distribution channel that the creator decides to take. And I think in terms of thinking about censorship and all that stuff, we want to keep in the idea and the concept of creator equity, right, which is what makes Web3 the biggest I think visionary and disruptor for traditional film and entertainment, is that it allows the ability to have royalties be trickled down to the smallest percentage of cast, crew, and talent. And so I think if we keep that in mind and then work together, platform to platform, to make interoperability a key component, whether it's leveraging Kimani's LMO distribution component, creating the standard tokenomics or something of that nature, I think as it goes through, platform, creators would have a lot more autonomy and see a lot more upside. And we would then start to see more traditional film, TV, and entertainment start to look at our models that we're creating.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you so much. I'm Cyprian. I see your hand is up, but I'm feeling really bad that Dreamer Gino has had their hand up for so long, and then Petra. So let me just see. Hey, Dreamer, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm sorry. How you guys doing?
We're good. We're good. I know you've been super patient. Are you wanting to jump into the conversation that's happening right now?
Yeah, I just basically wanted to introduce myself. I'm so happy that I found you guys.
Can I stop you just 1 second? If you want to introduce yourself, can you be a little more patient so we can keep this conversation going?
Sure.
All right, awesome, perfect. Petra, did you have something you wanted to add to what Ian and Kamani or has said?
Yes, I definitely would speak to what Ian and Kamani had mentioned with what they're working on in terms of standards. I have this idea that the whole thing could be managed with ERC 1155 tokens in ways similar to what Orca is doing with pods, but more specifically also using the IEEE standard of decentralized identifiers, or DIDs, within the pod structure. And I think that Kamani's contract infrastructure also is brilliant and exactly lays out the problem in the way to balance the internal creative economy against the needs of the external communications economy. But I also had a question. I've been looking through Beem, and I've looked at Beem, and I think it's really amazing, and it's doing some interesting things. But the issue with Beem for me, and I have a question for Cyprian. So in our terms and agreements, the TOS or whatever, there's a lot of good things that make sense in here, but there's one specifically in terms of utilizing the code or program, or attempting to integrate it with other codes or programs. And I'm just wondering, in terms of like interoperability, how does that impact Beem, and is there a long-term vision that goes beyond that? Or anyway, yeah, what I'm seeing is this ability for us to create in the way that stories and most audience creator interactions are actually, which is not the way that like Netflix or a passive entertainment systems, passive communication systems are really designed to function. That there is this sort of interaction between audience and creator that has to be fostered, and I think we finally have the ability to do that in an intelligent way on the internet. So we need to bring that kind of culture forward for sure. And I'm really happy to be part of that. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Cyprian, you want to answer?
Yeah, definitely. So look, I wrote the TOS I think 3 years ago, so they're not kind of relevant or 100% accurate anymore. But I get your point, and I think this is actually one of the crucial thing we want to take care of is the interoperability. And we mentioned before, and Komani had a very interesting point on that about like the distribution token and the way it could work. One thing that is important to consider as we're dealing with video is that you have to also own the underlying infrastructure for actually streaming the content. And this is where it gets really tough, because it's good to be able to give out a token for distribution, but how do you handle the actual material? And like, do you handle like the source file, and then they are supposed to transcode the movie on their side? Do you handle? Do you send like an already transcoded version, and then people can get access to it? And so, and then this is not even considering the implication at the platform level, where you need to have proofs that the content is, for example, just used once on a specific platform, or have like all the kind of brain safe stuff that you want to put around it. So I think it's a deeper problem, and I'm amazed to see that so many people are already working on that and already have some pieces of solution. What we plan to do with Beem, but also with BlockbusterDAO, is to get the best solution, and specifically the one that gives the largest amount of liberty to the creators, and to give them those tools so that they're able to monetize and distribute the way they want. Now, I think there's like another issue we talked about with Tesafila, which is the kind of censorship part. One thing that is important to understand is that Beem, for example, the way we built it is not a platform per se. You can use it as a platform, but what we want to give is a home for each creator to have their own platform, in the sense that you have kind of a white label version of the platform, and with your name, with your URL, your colors, your logo, your fonts, your whatever, it's your platform. You do whatever you want with them, and that actually changes a lot the way you think about what content should be there. For example, we're in talks with a gay porn producer, and he's like, yeah, Beem is the perfect platform for us. And the reality is that, yes, it is, but they are not going to be featured on the main platform, because it's not a platform for porn. It's a platform for video creators in general, and with like kind of family safe in a way. But they can have their own platform that is powered by the same infrastructure. And I think this is one of the really cool stuff that is happening now, is that the censorship is not done at the platform level. It's done at the creator and the audience. If everybody is okay to watch that, then sure. I mean, we give you the tools to do it. And then as we move into Web3, and with all the storage solutions that exist in the market, with Arweave and with Filecoin and all this kind of stuff, the question behind that is also like, how do we make sure that, I don't know, like pedopornography is not uploaded to immutable storage solutions? And so Arweave has started to develop their own kind of censorship solutions. Filecoin has, they've thought about that, but there is no, I mean, to my knowledge, there is still not something live. But it's us, the builders of those platforms and the creators that want to use those platforms, to decide what is the best for us. Like, what is the level of censorship or of filtering that we want to do, and where do we do it? Like, is it at the platform level? Is it at the creator and their like own space or own home? Is it at the storage level? And so and just to finish on that, the storage part is very important. It's like a crucial element right now that is kind of a bit overlooked, because everybody knows Amazon, like AWS, and it works well, cool, but it's not Web3, it's Web2. And what are the Web3 solutions for that? And once you start talking with filmmakers, you have two categories of filmmakers. You have the ones who are definitely okay for anyone to see their content for free, and you have the other ones which are like, I don't want anyone to see my content without my approval, in the sense that without paying for it or having a distribution token for it or anything. And so the issue is that once you have a token CID, you can, and if your movie is stored on a public storage solution, then anyone can go see your movie. Basically, they will get the kind of source file. They will be able to transcode it and download it and watch it. So here it's like we need to take into account all those little different pieces everywhere so that the solution that we propose to the whole industry makes sense for everyone, and everyone has the liberty to choose what they want their content to be stored on, what type of protection do they want around that, what type of distribution contracts they want to allow on their content, and how the distribution will actually happen in real life. Like, how do Netflix get access to my movie? Do I need to send it manually? Okay, cool. So then it's not like a fully autonomous solution, you know. So anyways, like, I really love the conversation we're having here, because it's like deep down into like what is the future of film distribution and video distribution in general, and like how do new protocols need to emerge right now to solve those issues.
My God, that was like so like nuts and bolts. That was so wild. I know that Kamani wants to speak to that, but hold on one second. Ed, you've been super patient. Are you wanting to speak to this, or shall we come back around to you?
Oh, it's to Kamani, and he said, but I don't know. What do you want to do, Jordan?
Let me come back. I know Kamani wants to speak directly to what Cyprian said, and then I'll
Yeah.
I'll
It'll be a different question. So yeah, maybe Kamani should go.
I'm actually working on I'm typing up a thread for the room right now on distro and everything. So why don't basically there's all these different stipulations you can include in your distribution rights token, and I think Petra was talking about how I think since I got rugged, oh no, all my links are still out there. Good. So Ian and Petra and Cyprian and oh, he left. I forgot the name, but
Tassa.
What was it again?
Tassafila.
Tassafila. Oh, he was awesome. Oh, terrific. We have a chance to really work out. This is what we're talking about in terms of like, let's decide. I mean, we don't have to do it today, obviously, and there's going to be a lot of input from a lot of filmmakers. But as long as we can kind of loosely form an idea around a distribution standard through tokenomics that we all want to kind of move forward with, I think that would just really help all filmmakers everywhere. So obviously, I have a solution, but it's not. It needs to be community vetted and all these things. And just a real quick recap of it: you have an asset that you're distributing. You mint 100 tokens that each carry the same distribution rights agreement to that content. What you put in that distribution rights agreement is fully up to you. Now, how do you manage that pool of 100 tokens is also fully up to you, but we're trying to, honor the Web3 edicts of scarcity and all these things. But the reason that you do 100 tokens is so you have a pool that you can enforce any released tokens against. So pool of 100, you release 16 to the market. So potentially your film or TV show could have 16 different distributors on all sorts of different platforms and channels. You might have somebody streaming your show on Twitch, might have somebody might have Hulu or Tubi or a major distributor on your show. But this allows you to navigate the rights to distribute your content in a much more malleable, at an accessible list to where somebody can grab distribution rights to your TV show for like $200,000 if that's what you want the entry point to be. So the agreement that they're picking up is something that you decide ahead of time. So the distributor already knows the stipulations that they're involving themselves with. They're not negotiating. When they buy that token, that's the agreement that they're purchasing. And so a lot of the things that we were just talking about, I was doing a thread to help it. I'm not finished with it yet, but I was doing a thread to help talk about it. But the number one thing I wanted to talk about was the issue of censorship that came up. When you have a distribution rights token, you can put a stipulation in that agreement, a content integrity stipulation, for example. So content must be made available to the audience in the exact form, format, style, and sequence produced. It's that simple. So anybody picking up the token to distribute your show needs to abide by that stipulation, or they're in breach of contract. Another one that I'm really excited to see what happens in our industry is required audience availability. The distributor must make the intellectual property they purchase rights to available to their audience at all times with respect to local ratings boards and governance. That means if they would like to move on from the IP, they have to sell the token on the marketplace. This prevents this. I call it the death shelf. When you have a great show on Netflix or Hulu or one of these big distributors, and they just pull it for no reason. They still own it, but they pull it, and the audience can't access it anymore. And that sucks, because for us, when our content is live, that's producing revenue streams. And when it's not live, then those revenue streams dry up. And with what we're doing in Web3, I know a lot of us are of the same mindset here of implementing profit share models, with our collective when we're producing these things. So we want our revenue streams to remain strong, even 10 years from now. So the distribution agreement that I put forth to the community, just to recap, every film or show, anything that can be distributed to an audience through a third party, should have 100 tokens minted that represent that each token has a distribution rights agreement. They can look like whatever you want. I like just make them artistically unique. That's important. They still have to remain commodities. You release 16 of those tokens to the market. This allows a major distributor to collect all 16 and have exclusive distribution rights to your content, or potentially it allows 16 different Twitch streamers to each collect a token and have a competing stream war around your content. Either way, people are watching that. Either way, you're getting advertising revenues coming in. Either way, you're getting massive audience access. So Web3, we have a chance in distribution to really shift the market, because I don't get me wrong, I don't want to force Netflix and Hulu and all these people out of the space. I just want the deals that they're offering us to work for everybody and not just for them. So everything that I've put forth to the community with our distribution method is built around sustainability. It's disruptive for sure, but it's built around sustainability. It's not built to tear anybody down or tear anybody a new one. So yeah, thanks for listening. Yeah,
I got a question, Ed. Did what Kamani's recap answer your question? Because you got more
Somewhat.
for him.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
it was
ask.
just more so of like, and thank you. It was so much more like, this is touching the DAO. Like, we pretty much have to have a DAO to do this, correct? When it comes to tokens, and when the artist is, dropping a film, say the artist is, they have the idea and they're dropping maybe an NFT to fund this film. I guess my question, maybe you don't have the answer, and it's probably for everybody on the stage. Should they have this DAO not only in mind, but kind of established prior to when
yes,
dropping
yeah,
this?
yes. And
Okay.
here's my suggestion on how to form a great DAO for your property. And we touched on it a little bit earlier. We talked about fractionalizing ownership to a distributed asset. And if you can sell off a percentage of that ownership to the community using artistically unique collectibles, it's very important that the collectibles themselves don't carry any legal paperwork securing their ownership. Otherwise, it's a security. So you have to make sure that these are artistically unique collectibles that carry ownership through what's called a deed of assignment, which applies ownership to the token hash. So the token itself does not carry any legally binding paperwork. This is a very important transactional layer for your collectors to make these tokens entirely risk-free, and for you, because ain't nobody here want to end up in court. So,
Wait, so these collectibles are going to give you access to these tokens?
well, here's my thought as a creator, and this is just my paradigm. What can we afford to give up to our audience to ensure our project gets greenlit? My thing is community ownership, right? I would love to own a little fraction of ownership in every show that I love, every film that I love. And I know if we go around the room, we could talk about all the different shows and films that even if you 1/10,000% of ownership, it would be important for you to have that in one property or the next. So we're counting on our audiences to also feel the same way. And here's the simple model. I'm going to do a real simple model, then I'm going to take myself off mic. We're going to reflect back to the film idea that we had about an hour ago. Jordan's living in a tent on the moon. Sophie's producing the film. So Sophie fractionalized her ownership to the film. She minted a pool of 100,000 tokens. Now that sounds massive, but bear with me. This token pool exists in at least 3 different versions. So there's actually only 3 different token hashes in the pool. Now, 2 of the token hashes, let's say 10% of the pool is what she's offering to the audience to get the film greenlit. So that's 10,000 tokens. If you have at least 2 token hashes in that 10,000 token pool, you're golden. You have a blue chip version, you have a common version. You can finance your property that way. Incidentally, you also have 10,000 token holders to form your DAO around. And that DAO is a governance and support DAO that can help you as a focus group for your film and the development of your film. It can help enforce your distribution deals that you sign down the line. Within that DAO, you can actually set aside a net profit percentage generated by the film or show. and reward DAO participants, specifically if they're participating in the DAO. And that can be very lucrative. That's up to you and the way that you're designing things. So just a real quick recap of what I just talked about. You create an asset for film or TV. You created two assets. You created your franchise that you want to keep 100% ownership of. And you've created the very limited distributed asset that's actually forming a relationship with your audience. So that's the film or season by season of television. You fractionalize your ownership to the distributed asset of the film or the season of television. Use a pool of at least 100,000 tokens. Sell 10% of that pool to your collectors. Make sure that pool is priced to cover the entire cost of production for the film or for the season. And that can give you a good idea of how many tokens you want to make available to your collectors, because you can price them at accessible lists or you can price them at big baller lists. Either which way, if you price them correctly, once that token pool sells out, your property will be fully funded. Now you can build a DAO around your token holders, and they can enforce any distribution agreements that you build down the line. So thank you all for listening.
I love it, Kamani. I've been so thrilled to that you have an audience for this now. Now I know that Flinch had their hand up for a long time, and before we move on, did you have something you wanted to add or ask?
No, it's okay.
All right, cool. And I saw Susie had your hand up. Welcome. So happy to see you. Are you with us, Susie? Did you want to say something? Did you get robbed?
Yeah. Nope. Sorry. I always forget to turn my mic on. So thank you. Good to be here. Hi, Sophie, as well. Good to see some familiar faces and a bunch of new people. I'm still very new to the film space. Just trying to educate myself and hang out with all of you. So I want to just bring up a few things, and one of them is when I think about Web3. I think about it as a set of tools that we can leverage, and these tools are enabling things that we couldn't necessarily do with the Web2 tools. The one thing that I don't hear enough about, which to me is concerning, is when we're talking about these tools, the underlying or the foundational layer are humans. And so although the structure of DAOs, the tooling of DAOs, the things that we can do like fractionalizing ownership is super interesting. But if those DAOs, if the first people into those DAOs, which essentially the seeds of the DAO are seeded before the DAO even becomes a DAO, and then the first people that are in, quote unquote in, are the ones who are planting more seeds and are cultivating a way of thinking and doing in a culture, and you keep adding more people and more layers in, can very much replicate what's already happening in Hollywood. And so if you look around your DAO and you're saying, gosh, I am a man and 95% of the people that I'm talking with, I'm back channeling with, I'm, group DMing my ideas with are guys, we're just going to replicate the same systems over again. We're just using tools that are allowing them, and when I say them, it's people who don't identify as a marginalized group, to leverage these tools and continue building their wealth. And so that's something that I think I'm not hearing a lot about, and that's concerning to me. The other thing I'm not hearing enough about is when we are talking about governance, that's a really big deal, as I'm sure we all know. Every part of what is happening is about governance. And I don't have a sense of the real way people are thinking about governance beyond a token-weighted governance. And so that's something to consider as well. Another point is, and I may have heard Kilmani say this, and I apologize if I'm incorrect. Please jump in and let me know. When I think about Web3, I think a lot of the narrative is being driven around scarcity. But it doesn't have to be that way. And what happens when we drive a narrative around scarcity, and scarcity is what creates value, what we're really doing is we are incentivizing and rewarding speculative behavior. And it's that speculation, that quick pump and dump attitude that's going to undermine the work and the promise of Web3. I don't know if what I'm saying thus far makes sense, or any comments
Absolutely.
Before I say anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to jump in for a second just on the DAO structure stuff that you were talking about and governance. I agree with you. I think that there's, I think that there is a systemic thing that we all know, and certainly a lot of our brothers in here who come every week, and I consider part of my community and my brothers in arms. Um, we know, they know that it's just comfortable to, like, you're hanging with the boys, right? And that's happening, and there's a lot. Sometimes I think it's just the lack of awareness. It's not necessarily like, oh, hey, let's go make this thing together. Oh, oops, there are no other marginalized communities here. It's just kind of us. So I know within my community there's a lot of awareness about inclusivity, and I know that anyone who knows me, that's just a really big thing that I talk about elevating, amplifying marginalized communities and the underrepresented. And I think one of the things can happen, inside a DAO, like what we saw happening with the whole ENS thing this past week. There's a couple of ways that you can make change inside of that. And while maybe some people own more tokens than others, and so they wield more power than others, there are a couple ways. You could have sold your ENS and decided to, like, put your, kind of put your money, or use a little power that way, or you could have stayed in and redelegate it in order to, like, remove that person from their, having such a powerful position with their company. And I think it's the same thing. Like, we can hopefully, there can be DAOs that are created with like-minded people, that want to, make sure that there's diversity and inclusion involved in that making. There will always be the boys club. I don't think we're going to change that, honestly. But it doesn't mean that we don't, that we don't have it within our power to create something else. I might be a little Pollyanna about it, but I do believe that a lot of us have been drawn to Web3 because we do know that there's an opportunity here to create a different world. So I know that was one of your three things. Sorry, Susie.
No, that was great. And I do want to say, that there are in any space that we're in, there are going to be people who are out there for themselves. I don't think the people who are here and the people that you surround yourself with are those people. But what I am seeing is, for instance, I'm going to use Seed Club, and I think Seed Club is doing some really interesting work. I think they're very thoughtful. The other day, they were part of a panel of, it happened to be all men and happened to be all white men. And when I, reached out to say, hey, what's going on? Why didn't anybody look around and because you all know each other, say, wait, time out. We can't have this. Like, if we're going to change, it starts with us. And they basically were like, we're trying, we know it's a problem. And so your example with ENS is exactly what I'm saying, which is we need to start at the ground level. We need to start at the planting and the seeding level, at the cultivation level, because when it gets to the point of where ENS got to, it's very hard to backtrack. And when we talk about creator equity, it's if people are just not aware, and I can be unaware, and I have my own biases 100%. And this isn't just men, because women do it too, and they often do it to each other. It's like we are tearing each other down, and not everybody, but it happens. So when we think about creative equity, we've really got to hold ourselves accountable and bake it in from the beginning, so that people can be utilizing and leveraging the tools and things like NFTs to build generational wealth. And one last thing with regards to inclusivity, because I use that term as well, is the challenge that I see around inclusivity and film and the film industry is that to be inclusive, I was talking to my friend about this earlier, it's kind of like we already have, I'm just going to use sports because I love sports. We already have a basketball game going, but we need to be inclusive. So, hey, why don't you join us? And you can sit on the bench and you can't really complain because you're now part of the team and you have the team t-shirt, but it's still our game and it's still our ball. And if we let you onto the field, we may be doing this deliberately, but with the great people that we have, it's probably just we aren't thinking, you never get the ball. You never get past and you can never score. And it's not because we didn't want you to score. It's just I'm looking at other people to pass the ball to. And so with inclusivity within the film industry, and I'm thinking about the film industry because I think I've heard Jordan say something like 5% of women are directors. If you look at NFT and NFT sales, and we're leveraging the technology of NFTs and smart contracts within this industry, depending on what statistic and what you're actually looking at, it's anywhere between 5 to 16% of NFTs that are being sold are by women-led teams or women. And so I've not been into enough of the film squad spaces, but I've had the fortunate opportunity to spend, like Jordan and many others, thousands of hours in Twitter spaces. And I'm very much excited to be here, so excited about the tech. I'm so amped about what I learned today, about the different models, but I'm also very much aware of the things that we aren't talking about that are going to just recreate a system, but with different tools.
You know what? I would love to have this conversation, in back in the Web 2. Sorry, Kamani, I know you wanted to say something and I'll get to you in a second. But, in the Web 2 film world of independent film, we've had this conversation so many times, right? About like the underrepresented and why representation matters and inclusivity and all of that. But we haven't actually had a room on that yet. And a lot of that is because, and I'm going to be really straight up with my brothers in here, I noticed something when I ran Elevating Women in the NFT space. I ran that for months and months every Saturday, and sometimes it would go 9 hours. And I could count on my hand how many men were there. And so this is something that is not like if I do an NFT film squad space and we're like, let's focus on the women in this space, or I want this not to be a bunch of women in the room trying to figure it out, because this is something I think we have to figure out together, like as a community, men and women and non-binary and whatever the fuck you are, white or red or purple. So this is I'm with you, Susie. This is a community thing that we actually haven't had that conversation, and I think it would be a great conversation to have. But I would hope that all the men that I admire and respect in our community here would join that conversation.
Yeah, and they can easily do a check too later on today. Look at how you back channel. Look at the DMs you're sending. Look at the Telegram groups you're a part of. Look at those calls that you're making to each other, because you all are talking about some really very intelligent things. And not to say that women aren't, not to say that non-binary aren't, not to say that trans aren't, but we need to be part of that conversation as well. And so just like a collector might look at their quote unquote portfolio and say, gosh, the last 10 things I collected are from, I'm making this up, Southeast Asian artists. Well, see if you can find any in Africa. See if you can find any in Australia. Same thing. So if you're back channeling, and I'm not saying back channeling is a bad thing, it's just how we are communicating. The space is moving so quickly that you're building on ideas so quickly with each other that people are going to be left behind. But if you can, almost do a self audit and look to see who am I back channeling with, and I would set a high bar for yourself. If 50% aren't representative of people of color, LGBTQIA+, of women, see what you can do about it, and ask around, and say, and invite, and put things out there, and see, who responds.
Thank you. This is I'm so glad you came in and brought that up. I know that you wanted to bring something very similar up on one of our last spaces. I'm curious, and I'm going to take 1 second just to sort of reset the room. But I also want to ask a couple of the guys their thoughts. But first of all, if you just arrived in this room, we're the NFT Filmmaker Squad, and we've been having these rooms for a year now, every Wednesday, and we've grown so much as a community, and being so incredibly innovative. And we've talked to several innovators today, Kamani and Cyprian and Tasa and Ian, and so many people that have really pushing the envelope for us as a community and finding solutions today, specifically in distribution. We've talked a lot about how we are, how are we minting and on the blockchain, and how are we crowdfunding our features and stuff like that. So this was a really, really cool conversation. We also have spaces now on Mondays with Miguel, and we're premiering the Saturday matinee with Charnik this Saturday. If you want to join our community, we do have a Discord. You can find it in my link tree. So I saw a bunch of you guys joined, but you didn't go through the verification. So just make sure you go to that Start Here Now rules, whatever channel, and go through the verification. So it opens up all the channels. If you know Discord, it's a really kind of like place where a lot of fuckery happens. So be careful. I'll never DM you. No one from NFT Filmmaker Squad will ever DM you on Discord, but please join us, because that's where some of the cool community stuff is happening. And we typically go for a couple of hours, and I want to be very, respectful to my guests who've come in. But I also want to give, the guys on the floor an opportunity maybe to speak to what Susie just said, because really it is a distribution thing as well. A filmmaker like myself has had a lot of, basically doors shut in my face, from funding and of course all the way down to distribution. So, Chris, I see your hands up.
Yeah, something I was actually thinking while listening to Cyprian and others talk, but also gets along to the inclusivity issue, which is like, where is the bridge of the gap that we're making to get people who aren't as involved in a like NFT type of community, or aren't as astute enough to go into what NFTs are and what they're doing? Like, how are we bridging that gap to those people? Because I think one of the things we could do is, if there's a bridge that we can get people into this space, into this idea quicker, like, maybe not every Twitch streamer knows what an NFT is or how they could use it to stream through their channel. Like, what is there currently that's getting that bridge to the people that aren't in Web3 mindset yet?
Well, I have to say, like, it's a great question, because I think that every filmmaker who's come through the NFT Filmmaker Squad can tell you, onboarding filmmakers to NFTs and Web3 has been super challenging, right? And it's super challenging because it's not an easy flow yet, right? It's like, oh, you've got to do a MetaMask. What's a MetaMask? Oh, and be really careful when you get your wallet, and then you've got to do ETH, and and how do you put ETH into your wallet? And then what is OpenSea, and why OpenSea, and what is this? So it's just, the flow is not easy. But I think that having these rooms, I see some people in here today I've never seen in here before that I know from indie filmmaking. So I think that it's starting to catch on. I know that one of the things that Jason is going to be talking about on Saturday is about like the 101 of NFTs, and being able to help other filmmakers, onboard other filmmakers and go through like the process, because it's not an easy process. I didn't mean to like completely cut you off there, Chris, but I feel like that they're absolutely like, this is one, like, I'm one person, so I can't do everything, but that's why we need a community.
Yeah, I was just more meaning if there was something I didn't know of yet. I figured OpenSea and the channels that exist were there. I've just been learning so much since becoming part of this community, and I love everyone who gets to speak in these spaces. You guys are really helping me out as far as an artist. So I just wanted to ask to see if there was something other than what I'm already seeing, because I would love to get, plenty of people who have no idea what any crypto of anything is into something like, hey, you can collect things now that I know you like, so you could get them now while the going's good, while it's, the iron is hot type of thing. But yeah, thank you, Jordan. No, that was a perfect answer. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just think that by next week there's gonna be so much that happens, because you know how fast it moves. And some platform will come up and they will have streamlined, something. And I think Petra has something to say about it. Petra, your hand was up.
Yeah, it just strikes me as a trans producer and CFO for the Gamers, having its 20th anniversary, and has licensed for the last 12 years all of its content under CCO, under something called the Shared Cinematic Universe License Agreement. that maybe the answer, and as somebody who, I mean, I've been first on the ground in a lot of places in the last 2 years, but uh, as somebody who's been told that I'm obviously not a leftist because I have anything to do with NFTs, like, I don't know, probably about a dozen times in the last 2 weeks, it just strikes me that maybe the answer to both questions, uh, the question, how are we going to onboard all these people in Web 2 space into a Web 3? How do we make them see the vision that we're seeing? And also, how do we elevate, marginalized voices in this new vision for global economy? Maybe they're the same. It's a consideration.
Thank you. Thanks for that. I see we have one more request come up. I'll bring you up, Jenny. And while we're waiting for Jenny to get here, um, Dreamer, I know you wanted to introduce yourself to the community, so this is a good moment because, again, like I said, I want to be considerate of of the guests that came through today and not keep going too long. So, Dreamer, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. I just wanted to say this real quick. I'm happy that I found this room. I've been looking for filmmakers and aspiring filmmakers within this space for a while. And today, we jumped off our virtual Twitter film festival. And we're going to do those every Wednesday. And she's actually in here, the girl that, she's an awesome filmmaker. I met her today. She just popped in our film festival. And I think it's She Crypto. She has an amazing movie. We're interviewing her next week, and she's the one that told me about you guys, and I'm just like happy to be a part of this room. I am happy to meet all of you guys, and I would love to work with a lot of you guys as far as interviewing or having you guys on the film festival. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
I'm so psyched that you found us. It amazes me that we've been doing this a year and people are just finding us now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy, right? It's got to have something to do with the algorithms because, yeah, I mean, anyone who knows me knows that I've been trying to like really amplify the community, the web community. So I make a lot of noise about us a lot.
I don't know what it is. Like, I'm a musician. I started out with music, and then something within me just wanted to make film. So I'm kind of crossing over from the music side. But there's so much stuff, for musicians on Twitter as far as spaces and stuff like that. And I couldn't find really anything for filmmaking or filmmakers. So
Yeah, for real. I mean, when you've got Latasha and Domino like killing it like they are, and Black Dave and all of that. Yeah, there's the film the music is like right ahead of the film, and right now the last 2 weeks, and I think it's a confluence of my Ment of Red Flags, my short motion picture on Zora, plus that Julie Pacino had really successfully sold out her crowdfunding for her feature film, and that Miguel is like literally dropping his crowdfunding stuff like in 3 weeks. So there's been a lot of I think energy towards film now, and like I said, I spoke on 9 panels last week. So it's cool. It's like super exciting to see it's starting to come together, and you'll see. There will be a lot more. I think a lot of people wanting to talk about films and NFTs, in the future. But I do believe that you're probably not going to find a community that knows more about film in this world than the NFT filmmaker squad, and that includes like everyone that comes who comes here almost weekly. A lot of people that are not on stage because they've been diving in 24/7 for a year now. I want to just say I'm going to start to wrap up the room. And if you just got here or if you've made a request, I really want to respect the time of everyone and just give Cyprian and Kamani a moment to kind of. Well, actually, Jenny, I know you came up. Did you want to say something?
Yo, thanks for bringing me up. I got rugged right when you did the first time, so I appreciate doing that again. I just wanted, so a couple of things. I'm a part of your Discord, and it's amazing, and I freaking love it, and I've been not saying too much because I'm still, like, lurking and learning and reading everything I can't wait to start getting some of my documentary film work on to NFTs and not just my stills. But I did also want to reply to the trans person that was speaking up here. I wasn't looking when you were speaking, so I don't know who you are. But I just wanted to let you know that there are plenty of leftists in the crypto and NFT space. Yo, I'm actually in like a group chat with all of my leftist comrades. That's literally but I want to like look it up right now to just like see what it's called. But it's literally called Leftists Hungry for Billionaire Funds. Like it's literally like we're here. There's plenty of us. There's tons of us. I'm like a former Bernie staffer. I'm Occupy all the way. And to be honest, it's like this kind of stuff is literally the epitome. Like decentralizing everything is literally the epitome of the Occupy movement. Like, and if they don't get it, then like, hey, we're trying, okay? But definitely like don't feel like you don't have a place, you don't have a space. We are all over the joint, yo. Come, let's build community, let's do the thing and teach our friends who maybe have just read a couple of tweets but didn't actually do the due diligence that's required to understand the importance of DAOs and making your own smart contracts and owning your intellectual property and having power over your art and your creations for the first time in a really freaking long time, yo. So I'm just gonna go and continue to listen. I've been learning so much from all of y'all, especially Kamani too. Like you seem super knowledgeable, and I have so many questions to ask you. So thank you, everyone. I've been learning so much in the Discord. Everyone, please go join. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Jenny. That's great. That's great. Yeah, that I always said that cryptocurrency really is like a more socialist thing because of the whole decentralization of it. But a lot of libertarians would not agree with me. Cyprian, what do you want to say before we go? And then Kamani, and then I'll take us out.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think the conversation has been very interesting and a lot of very good feedback from pretty much everyone. And I think that it's good to have those conversations because as builders and as founders and as creators, it gives us a perspective on what we're doing and the caveats and like the big issues that we can see coming at us and how we can solve them together. And yeah, I really liked Susie's point about like inclusion and the necessity to have more diverse pool of talent and pool of people that are part of what we are building. At Beem, this is one of our main concerns. I know the two co-founders are two white male, and I'm kind of not happy about that, but this is how it was done. Now the goal is really to get on board the most diverse team possible. We already have like 10 different nationalities and pretty much all the different genders. But the goal here is really to form a group that is able to give us diverse perspectives on what we're doing and not like just a single kind of linear way of seeing things. And as we go and continue building with BlockbusterDAO, I think this will be very important, specifically on the governance aspects, where the people will be in charge of the governance and will have the right to say things and vote on them, will have tremendous power because they will be able to vote on how the protocol is behaving for everyone. And I think this is where the Web3 aspect is so much important. And this is where building the rails and the infrastructure in a way that is public is so important so that we can get feedback from everyone. And then we can have a transparency that is absolute in the sense that we are not trying to manipulate you or get cash on the side or just exploit your talents. We're actually trying to build something with you, not like just for you. It's a kind of a group effort, and this is why on our roadmap with Beem, one of the goal is to get ASAP actually some part of what we're doing open sourced, so that we can have community input and we can actually include people in our decision making. And then this is also will be reflected on BlockbusterDAO, where the governance will be totally open and part of the platform and part of the infrastructure and obviously the protocol will be open source, so that it will be like totally transparent for everyone. And that's why the distribution part is so critical. And having many people with diverse background and diverse views is also critical, so that we are not building things just for us on our like little island, but really opening up the doors to anyone. And the onboarding from Web2 to Web3 is also very important, in the sense that this is where most of the friction is for creators, but also for their audience. And so the goal of platforms is to help people bridge that gap and just like cross that Rubicon from Web2 to Web3 and arrive in like not a fearful way, but more like a joyful introduction to crypto with a very smooth UX. So this is why also it's important to be like multi-chain from scratch, so that you can offer like gas-free or very, very low fees to people, so that if you don't have a big budget or just never have touched crypto, you don't want to make your first transaction and lose $100 on it, you know. And so anyways, to cut it short here, the goal here really is to build that open infrastructure that in a public way, with including all people from diverse backgrounds, and to offer the largest amount of options and choices, so that we are not segregating people and we're literally opening up for everyone.
Super cool. Can you hear me? Oh, I thought I got rugged there for a second. I'm so down with what you guys are doing, and I'm so happy about this conversation. And thanks for also talking about the inclusivity. Kamani, did you want to give a little wrap up?
Yeah, I'll wrap it up. First, I think what Cyprian said about being cross-chain compatible is super, super important. You see a lot of filmmaking platforms in the space that are operating on their own chain. I'm not going to speak to the value of that, but I will say that any platform that's limited to one blockchain, in my opinion, is creating a large amount of risk for their collectors. Okay, so but beyond that, yeah, this conversation. Wow, I really think we paved a street today. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I think we really planted a seed. We have a lot of early filmmakers here, and we got a thorough deep dive on distribution and how that might look in Web3 and how we might navigate that. We also got to talk at length about asset control and asset definition and how many different layers of asset control that we have just sitting in your own home after you create an idea. It's really wonderful. So I'll leave you with this. Before I'm a filmmaker, before I'm a photojournalist, before I'm a storyteller of any kind, I'm a cognitive linguist. Unfortunately, that doesn't pay. So, but what it means is that for the last 12 years now, I've spent majority of my days researching how humans create meaning, and it's very here. I'll leave it. It's really simple. I'm not speaking right now. Speaking is a technology. I'm performing a series of noises through a hole in my face, and you're able to interface with the meaning that I'm intending to deliver because of two survival traits at work. The first survival trait is pattern recognition. Everything that we build context around from a cognitive perspective is interacts with patterns in some way. And believe me, I've tried to prove this wrong, but at the every single thing that we build context through or around, even in our experiences, has some element of patterns involved. And then the other survival trait that's at work that allows that allows us to interface this way is empathy. You're empathetic to the meaning I'm intending to deliver. You understand that I'm communicating in good faith, that I'm not trying to hurt anybody, so you're able to receive the meaning as I'm intending to deliver it. It's a very analog hive mind system, but it's really wonderful. So language is our access to the hive mind technology, and Web3 is a really complex interface now that we have, but it's the same thing. So with that in mind, being that every time we speak or every time we communicate meaning, we're actively coding each other's subjective realities, meaning that the stories that we tell are directly impacting our audience. And every time an audience member sits down and watches your film or your show, oh, that's a sacred relationship, isn't it? You have their attention for 2 hours, an hour, 30 minutes, whatever it is. And it's the same thing. You're delivering meaning to them and they're receiving the meaning from you. So it's a sacred relationship. That's my interest in film altogether, is it's another form of communicating meaning. And with that in mind, I would like to leave your subjective realities with this, and then I'll shut up. But you fundamentally deserve to exist. Each and every one of you deserves to exist. You are a collection of thousands of generations of ancestors, each and every one of you. Every breath you take, you fundamentally deserve to exist. It's simple math. You exist, therefore you deserve to exist. And when you channel that feeling, it produces a chemical, it's called an embodiment. It's a chemical embodiment in your brain that, in my opinion, I have not proven this yet, but it produces the exact opposite chemical reaction to anxiety. And you can try this out. When you're experiencing anxiety at a high level, just stick your arm straight out to the side and tell yourself, I deserve to exist. And really connect with that thought. And you'll feel it. You'll feel it's like warm water down your spine. So with that, thank you for listening. Yeah, I think we had a great room today.
It was always beautiful to hear you say that, Kamani. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and bringing so much value to the community. I'm so happy about today. Tasa is back, so I'd love for Tasa to have a few words, and then I will take us out.
Oh, thank you. I just my meeting ended early, so just want to come back and say thank you, everybody, for an awesome room. It's crazy that we all probably could talk for like 6 or 7 hours about this stuff, and that's why there's so many rooms right now about NFT film that are so exciting. Just really grateful for Jordan, and I think she's just such an awesome human, and just I don't know, just like radiates in this community and in the greater community. And I'm just like so grateful for meeting new people like Komani. I love the Flinch project and Cameron and everybody working on that. I'm just like super excited to have met you, Sophie. Cyprian, your amazing, intelligent mind is going to lead us very far in the future. And I'm so excited to be working with you. And I'm just so very grateful and so very happy at this time in my life. So I'm really grateful. And then I just want to say, if anybody is going to Ethereum Denver next week, I will be there, or DAO Denver. Hit me up. It's going to be an absolute riot. So would love to meet you all in person.
Oh, that's fabulous. Thank you, Tasa. Well, I'm just so happy that you decided to move on trying to acquire BlockbusterDAO's brand. Blockbuster's brand and make it a DAO. I love it. I love the whole concept and everything you guys are doing. And I've loved today. Like I said, I've really wanted this conversation to happen for a while, and this was super cool. If you guys don't know who we are, if you just came in, I'm going to give a quick little shout about what we do. And I'm also going to say, again, it's all about community. It's not about being performative about community. It's not about trying to build community just so that you individually can go like, do some cool thing. It really is about trying to figure out a way to support all of us in this space so we can all do cool things. And that's really what I love about this decentralized idea, and about what Kamani's talking about, and Cyprian and Beem and Tasa and BlockbusterDAO, and the whole NFT filmmaker squad community is really working hard towards blazing a trail in this ecosystem. And I'm super proud to be a part of that community. If you want to know more about us, you can join our Discord. It's in my link tree. If you go to my Discord, I noticed today that no one verified. You got to go to Start Here Rules, and it'll take you. It kind of spells it out, and you verify yourself, and the channels will open up. And what else? Follow the speakers up here on Twitter. Retweet them. In fact, today was such a fantastic room. I would encourage you guys to retweet the recording of this, because I think there are a lot of filmmakers that would get so much value out of this very specifically today. I think it's going to blow a lot of people's minds. And take a look around you, because it's not just the people on stage. There are incredible filmmakers all through this space. Look to your left, look to your right. Again, it's about community. It's about finding ways that we can amplify one another. And one person might have a question about, how do I mint? Where should I mint? Believe me, we have talked about this 1,000 times, and we'll talk about it another 1,000 times. And you can go in the Discord and ask that question. So, or you can, be like, how do I make a feature film? Or we're going to be talking about that a lot more. So anyway, I can keep going, but I won't. I will back away from the mic. But thank you all so much for spending this time with us. Time is valuable. And again, we're launching or premiering the Saturday matinee with Jason Charnick, 2 p.m. Eastern time this Saturday. And so if you've not gotten enough of us now, well, we're gonna be here. All right. With that, goodbye, you guys. Thank you so much. Everybody
Thank
have a
you,
beautiful
Jordan.
day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
This was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks all. It was great.
Y'all are freaking badass.